My scenario is scenario 13, where 14-year-old Joshua is not like the other boys in my class. He is always impeccably groomed and very neatly dressed. He would rather engage adults in discussion about fashion and Hollywood gossip than discuss sport, which is the main topic of conversation in my all-boys school that I'm teaching at. You have a good relationship with him. You suspect that he is gay, but he has not told you this. Today he comes to you visibly upset. His prized Versace pencil case has been defaced with the word "poofta" written in large letters. So the issue is that a student or students have defaced Joshua's pencil case with the word "poofta", which is both an act of vandalism and bullying. There are a few ways in which this difficult behaviour could be managed. So firstly, it's important to be an active listener, as students are going to be most responsive to teachers who listen carefully to what they say. So firstly, it would be important to speak to Joshua about the event, particularly when he noticed his pencil case was defaced and if he saw the person or persons who wrote the word on it. Rogers, in his positive behaviour model, looks at taking students aside when managing difficult behaviour. I think it's also important to take Joshua aside in this case, as it's highly unlikely that Joshua would feel comfortable or that it would be appropriate to discuss what's occurred to Joshua's pencil case with him in front of a class. So after speaking to Joshua, it's going to be important to make a colleague aware of the issue or potentially involve the school administration. If Joshua was able to indicate who may have defaced his pencil case, it will be important to speak to those students or student. Due to the nature of the issue, it will again be important to use Roger's method of taking the student aside. I would need to make a colleague aware that I was meeting with a student or students who I believe had vandalised Joshua's property, so that I can easily be observed, and it would probably be appropriate to keep the door open and to check school policy to see if there was any instructions regarding meeting one-on-one or in a small group with students. It's also going to be important to allow sufficient time free from any interruptions. It's probably highly likely that the student or students will deny the event and may even become angry or aggressive. As Rod and Ellis suggest, it will be important to keep a distance between the students and myself, either by a desk or an imaginary line. Another technique that Rogers suggests could be to use the I statement. So I statements can be important when teachers respond to rudeness, sexual or racist comments. So an example would be, I don't vandalise your property, so it's not appropriate that you vandalise another student's property. Or I don't make defamatory remarks about you, so it's not appropriate to make defamatory remarks about another student. If the students own up to the vandalism, then an appropriate punishment would be necessary. As Porter argues in Assertive Discipline, it's necessary to establish rules, so it needs to be clear that this type of behaviour and bullying is unacceptable. However, if they don't own up to it, then it may be difficult without conclusive evidence to say that this student or students committed the act. It may be necessary to get the principal or school administration involved. In terms of Joshua should be offered support. He can either come to me or suggest that he speak to a school counsellor or determine whether he's comfortable speaking to his parents. Finally, it's going to be imperative to keep detailed records of instances of challenging behaviour and behaviour management such as this one. Records of behavioural incidents should focus on facts and not include vague or unsubstantiated comments. Good record keeping is done to allow myself and other staff members to monitor the behaviour and the well-being of individual students, which is going to be important in the case of Joshua in this situation. Ensuring that student behaviour is being responded to and it is consistently done. This record keeping also allows teachers and students to monitor the effectiveness of strategies and supporting principals in their decision making. In this instance, a follow-up discussion is probably necessary with Joshua and, if the students have owned up to it, the students who were responsible.